Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. Part 1. Start of my life at sea. I was born in York, England, in 1632. My father was German, and my mother was English. I had 2 older brothers and a younger sister. The oldest brother joined the army, and he was killed in battle. The middle one disappeared, and we never heard what happened to him. I was well educated, and my father wanted me to study law. But I wanted to go to sea. Nothing would make me stay at home and become a lawyer. I was 18 years old when my father called me to his room. He was old, and he suffered from an illness which kept him in bed. My father asked me why I wanted to go to sea when I could stay at home, study and prosper in my own country. He told me that traveling by sea was dangerous. He warned me that I would lose safety and comfort of my home if I went to sea. My father also told me that if I went abroad, I could die like my oldest brother. When he was saying this, he started to cry, and he couldn't continue. My father's advice and warnings made me think, and I started to forget my desire to travel by sea. But my decision to stay home didn't last long. 1 week passed, and I decided to talk to my mother and tell her I wanted to travel. I told her how curious I was. I told her how I wanted to see the world. Then I asked her to speak to my father. I asked her to tell him to let me go on one sea journey. I promised that if I didn't like it, I would go back home and start working very hard. My mother didn't agree. She also didn't want me to go abroad. I stayed home 1 more year. The whole time I was thinking whether to follow my parents' wish or my own desire. One day in September, I was in the town of Hull. A friend of mine was going with his father's ship to London, and he invited me to go with him for free. I wasn't prepared, and my parents didn't know, but I boarded that ship on that September day. The moment the ship left the river and went into the sea, my troubles started. There was strong wind, and the sea was rough. A storm was approaching. I was very scared, and I felt seasick. I began to regret my decision to leave home. I thought every wave was going to sink the ship. I promised myself I would go home and apologize to my parents as soon as I stepped on dry land again. The storm was over by the morning. I was still seasick during the day, and I was thinking about the terrible storm. However, the evening was beautiful and the sea was very peaceful. One of the sailors came to me and we started talking. He made some funny jokes. He asked me what I thought about the light wind. I told him I was very scared of the storm. The sailor offered me a drink. I got drunk, and that night I slept very well. The next day, I forgot how scared I was. I also forgot my decision to go back home. Instead, I was dreaming more about traveling by sea. The next few days, the wind was blowing against us, and we couldn't move much. 3 days later, the wind increased, and we could go faster. The next day, there was a great storm. I was scared, and this time I could see that the other sailors were also very scared. The captain was walking in and out of his cabin. He was quietly saying prayers. I was so scared, I could only lie in my bed and hope we would survive. When I looked out of the window of my cabin, I saw the waves. They were as tall as mountains. I saw other ships which looked like toys. The waves were playing with them. One sailor shouted that the ship went underwater in front of us. I was terribly afraid, and I regretted that I didn't go home after the first light storm. The storm was getting worse, and now all the sailors were praying we would survive. Suddenly, someone shouted that there was a hole in the ship, and water was coming inside the ship. Everyone was called down to pump the water out. I was paralyzed with fear, and I couldn't get out of my bed. Then one man came to me and told me to go down and help. So I went. I was pumping out the water when the captain ordered someone to fire a gun. It was a signal that we were in danger. I thought we were sinking because the ship was full of water. I thought we were all going to die. We were all working very hard, but the water kept coming into the ship. The storm wasn't as dangerous anymore, but the ship was already badly damaged. Our captain continued firing guns for help. There was a small ship in front of us, which sent us a boat. The sailors on that boat risked their lives, but managed to reach our ship. With great difficulty, we all boarded the boat. We couldn't think of going back to their ship, which was already very far. It was too dangerous, so we decided to try to get to coast instead. 15 minutes later, our ship went underwater. We were safe on the boat, but I was still very afraid. We were soon close to the land, and we could see many people on the beach. They were waiting for us. When we finally reached the land, the people were very nice to us. They helped us find rooms and gave us money to get to London or go back to Hull. I decided to go to London. I traveled to London by land. The whole way I was thinking what to do and where to go. I was too ashamed of myself to go back home. In London, I met the captain of another ship, who often travels to the coast of Africa. He offered me to travel with him. Before we left London, he advised me what to buy for trade in Africa. At that time, I only had £40. This journey was successful because I returned to England with some gold, which was worth almost £300. The journey was also good for me because the captain taught me something about mathematics and navigation. I learned what was necessary to become a sailor and a businessman. Soon after we came back to England, the captain died. I decided to make the same journey to Africa with the same ship, but another captain. This journey started well, but soon we had big problems. A ship started chasing us. It was a pirate ship. It continued the whole day. At about 3 in the afternoon, the pirates came very close. There was an attack, but we managed to push them away. On the second attempt, many of their men came on the ship and they started destroying everything. Some of our sailors were killed and some were injured, so we had to give up. All of us were taken prisoners. Thank you for watching. This is the end of part 1, to be continued in part 2. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe. See you then.